Why the countries are having the international trade, means why the country, they love to have the international trade. Please understand, because there are some advantages. We are going to talk about that. What is the advantage to a country when it trades, when it has international trade? So the one advantage what I think is economies of scale. Means economies of scale is what? Economies of scale means benefits, benefits, benefit that cost per unit goes down. Why? Because the production increases. Right now, when you produce more, the cost decreases. Right? Your market base expands. Because of that, there is enlargement of your production, and because of that, there is economies of scale. Correct? Next, I think related to this only, you have cost efficiency. What is cost efficiency? When I say cost efficiency, means every country, now every country, yes, you want to say something, please. So cost efficiency means what? Because see, now what is happening, that there is competitiveness everywhere, there is competition, correct? And because of that, you have to be efficient. If you are not efficient, understood, if you are not having the cost minimized, understood, then you will not be able to survive. So when you are going for international trade, please take it positively. You will have to be cost efficient. That means that business will have to be globally competitive. If it is not competitive, it can't, okay, it can't survive. So that is advantage of international trade, right? In your book, what is given? See, cost efficiency, the first point. Increased global competition makes domestic producers to enhance the efficiency. Means they are saying that you have to be efficient, at the same time the domestic players will also have to be efficient. India, when it opened its market, it immediately didn't open. It gave some period to the domestic players so that they can build up themselves. Okay. So domestic players also have to be what? Have to be efficient. At the same time, the host means the host country's player, that is the domestic player, as well as the person who is coming from outside, foreign trader, he needs to be also efficient. Okay, both ways. Third point what we can say is competition. What is competition? Means, see, when international trade happens, means if you say India 4 to 5 years back, means not 4 to 5 years, 10 years back, 15 years back, there was no choice with us, means for the goods and all. What the choices we have today, right? In one point of time, India had only one soap. Anybody knows what was that soap? Lifebuoy. Correct. Only one butter. Which one? Amul. Such a branding. Correct. Now today also when we go to the shop, we don't say butter. What we say? Amul butter. Whatever then he gives, mother dairy or whatever it is. But what I mean to say is, means that competition, because of competition today, what happened? Because of the international trade, the competition has increased. Understood? When you have international trade, the resources gets used. The resources gets used. Please understand. Okay. So we are efficient, means what? Resources are being used to the most efficient manner. Okay. When you are going into the international trade, what happens? In resources, you get what? Good material at the cheapest rate. You get what? Good labor at the cheapest rate. Yes or no? Why everyone wants to enter into India? Huge market. Labor is cheaper. Material might be cheaper. Okay, everyone has their own advantage. Correct. So these are the points. These are the advantages of what? Of international trade. Obviously, there will be price stability. How? Please understand. Now what happens? Please understand what happens when firms, this all companies, okay, they try to sell in the international market. What happens? The domestic price falls. In India, we have so many brands. Correct. So what has happened? Domestic players, domestic price have to be competitive, right? So the obviously the inflation goes down, the prices go down. Okay, so country can enjoy what? Enjoy the price stability. Understood? Because the supply is sufficient, because of that prices don't increase. Correct. Your standard of living increases. Better standard, better standard of living, not living, better standard of goods, we can say. Now this international trade now, what happens when there is international? We go now, we means some people they are very brand conscious. H&M, H&M, are H&M, H&M. Understood? The quality is good, right? So, so, so there the quality has improved because of the international trade. Okay, and this international means all these MNCs now, they will go on searching where they can reduce their cost. Means I know that I don't know the brand, but they produce uh, breadsticks, and they have this Cadbury Nutella. So you understand Nutella, you know na that Cadbury. So that and breadsticks. Hence I don't know the company's name. So they produce that. Now one day I was reading something and I found that Cadbury, the chocolate they produce in means that is manufactured in USA, and those breadsticks are manufactured in Italy. Means they go for so specialized things. Cost is obviously high. Understood? But this, see where it is better. The quality improves. Understood? Next, innovation. Okay, what happens? Means let us not restrict to only, you think na uh, about why India has bought Rafale, na in English, the fighter planes, Rafale, huh? That fighter planes we have bought it from whom? France, na? Why? And all the small components we are making here. Bullet train, we have tie with what? Uh, it's one type of it. Yeah, Japan. So what is happening is, see, when we trade internationally, whether we are buying this aircrafts or anything, means it may be military equipments or whatever it is, innovations, okay, their innovations we get, their technical knowledge we get. Underwater bullet train is going to be built by whom? Japan is perfect at that. Their research and development we get. So innovations begin. Slowly what happens? Our engineers also learn. Understood? When international trade happens, previously before in 90s and all, we didn't have much insurance companies, mutual fund companies, but today we have service sector, more mutual fund companies, n number of mutual fund companies, isn't it? So service sector also improves, employment increases. These are self-explanatory point, correct? Understood? These are self-explanatory points. So people get stable jobs, the livelihood increases, overall the human resource gets developed and all those. Employment, then consumer welfare happens because of this. Okay, I think uh, 5 to 6 points you should read, not more than that. because every question is for 3 to 4. Okay, 4 marks, 2 marks, or something like that. uh, we have not discussed, I think we have not discussed the paper pattern and all. I'll show it to you. Okay, remind me. So consumer welfare, then what? Forex, forex reserve. When country exports more, forex reserve is benefit. Yes, your economy, if it is consumer export oriented, that's a beneficial for you. Understood? All these things. Fine. There will be 2 to 3 points more, I don't know, so you should go through it. What is the disadvantage? What is the disadvantage? Now what happens when international trade occurs? Please understand what is the main disadvantage. Today we eat burger, unwanted harmful things, Coke, Pepsi, unwanted and harmful goods. Okay, they are supplied. Correct? Yes, someone was saying something. Depletion of resources. Correct. Depletion of resources. Very good. Right? It also happens because when it international trade happens, when FDIs come into your economy, what they do? They will deplete your resources. Understood? They will use it in any way. They are not concerned. Okay. You lose your what? You lose your cultural identity. Like cultural identity gets affected. Why? How? Yes, we adopt western means now we are what? We are adopting a western culture. Correct? Now that is what is happening. Correct? Cadbury, so much loss they suffered, but then what happens? They come, Raksha Bandhan celebration, huh? Directly attack on your, yeah, Diwali celebration, Raksha Bandhan, sister is getting that, huh? People are mad like anything for those chocolates, huh? Yes or no? Bubbly, what else? Fruit and nut, uh, and uh, so silky, then all those things come and we eat. Correct? So what happens? They have seen that there was a dialogue in India that are bacha hai kya, means are you a kid to eat chocolate? So what they show? They show white hair, uncle and auntie sitting on stairs, and he's proposing her and giving chocolate. So directly attack on your culture. Okay, you lose your identity, right? So they are very good at it. So you lose your culture. So negative points, all you have to say. Okay, and obviously if there can be BOP. Okay, BOP, deficit or imbalance of balance of payment. Okay, BOP, understood. Deficit can happen. How BOP deficit? Why? If your imports are more than the export, or you are an agrarian economy. Agrarian means agricultural goods. This is very important point. Agricultural economy. You are what you are supplying is what you are exporting is peanuts in front of capital goods. You are importing something capital, big machines and all. Its price is huge, and agricultural products are very cheaper. And there is very much price fluctuation in agriculture products. Understood? Obviously, what happens if there is emergency or political turmoil? Okay, then international trade gets affected, right? The supply of what you are importing from the other country is not guaranteed in that time. If there is a war between two nations, right, and one of the nation is supplier of oil, you will not get it because the country is engaged in what? War, and they might charge you anything. Correct? So it might be expensive for you. So dependence on other, okay, it might be disadvantageous. Fine. Because of the, yeah, reduction in forex reserve is also correct. Okay. So then there is a threat. Threat to whom? Threat to local industries. Yeah, local industries. Threat to local industries. How? Because when these companies come, correct now, what happened? Thumbs Up, Coca-Cola. Thumbs Up was Indian company. It couldn't sustain in front of Coca-Cola, right? And I think 96, 97, I think, I don't remember. Thumbs Up sold, got sold. Okay, it was acquired by Coke, right? So Thumbs Up was an Indian company. Then At that time, I think Thumbs Up used to sell something 300 ml bottle for 7 rupees. They couldn't withstand the competition. What the Coke, they used to have Sachin Tendulkar and this people, that people, advertisement. Okay, so all those things. So threat. What else? What else is the disadvantage? What else is the disadvantage? It's a boost for, they are saying, outside economies. Okay, means revenue. Correct. If you are importing more, means there is what? There is drain. Okay, there is money drain. If you are importing more, the money is going out. Correct. Now that is also correct. Understood? You can write. Okay, 6 to 7 points is okay. Fine. Now, because we have become a global village, one country's economy gets because if one country is facing recession, the other country will also get affected. Correct now? Now, it is also possible if you are exporting more. I'm not writing all these points, but if it is possible that if you are exporting more, there may be shortage in your what? Domestic currency. What used to happen? Correct. Before 2014, onion, every time we used to export, and there used to be every year there used to be a shortage, price hike in onion price. Correct, because we didn't have the warehouse for onion, then we built it. Okay, so now almost it is stable, but still government, I think this time they procured, right? Procured from which country, I don't know. They procured from somewhere onions. Okay, so all these things. So there can be many points. See, while reading, make 5 to 6 answer wise. May keep that in mind that you have to write 6 to 7 points. That's it. Okay. Now what happens? Listen carefully. There is something called as terms of trade. Terms of trade. Now what is terms of trade? There are three concepts. Means every country has their own concept. So first one is net barter terms of trade. Net barter terms of trade. This is very easy chapter. The thing you have to remember that is there. This is export price. Okay, export price upon import price. Export price upon import price. Index of export price upon import price. Now next is gross barter terms of trade. In this, you take export quantity upon import quantity. Okay, index of export quantity upon import quantity. There is something called as income terms of trade. Okay, in this what you do, you take the export price and then multiply with export quantity, okay, upon import price. Now formula wise it's okay. Now what we have to understand here is, listen carefully. They have in the module and all, they have just given the formula, but let me explain. Now what happens, because of this terms of trade, means because of this export and import, the country's current account position is heavily influenced because of its export and import, that is BOP. Understood? So what is this terms of trade? It's ratio of what? Export and import. It's a ratio of export and import. Okay, now please understand, if you want you can write definition. Please write there somewhere, write. It is not given, please write. Right, it is a numerical measured relationship. Very simple definition. It's a numerical measured relationship between export and import. Between export and import. Now I'll make you explain how it is calculated. It is not given. Okay, how they do it, they take the average price of many goods and services that is traded internationally in an economy. Whatever is exported, whatever is imported, the average price they take. Is that clear? Now what we have to understand, all these average prices are taken. Whenever the price goes up, average price and average quantity, please remember. Now what happens, we have to understand the implications. It is also not given, but still let us understand. You think and tell me, when the index will increase, in the numerator export is there, in the numerator is export, think and tell. is the ratio favorable or unfavorable? Favorable. Numerator is more. Please understand. It is favorable. If it is increased, that means what? Favorable. Let's say this is, let's say the index is 150 and it went to 200. Means what? Means if the base is 100, 150 times is export. Here the base is 100, 200 times means export has increased. Correct now? Unfavorable movement means what? There is a deterioration, fall in the ratio. Okay. Is that clear? Now, why it can happen? What is the cause? See, either the export price might have went up, okay, with relation to what? Import price. When we compare import price, okay, import price with relation to import price, when I compare this thing, either import price are constant, either the price have gone up or export price have risen and the import price have fall. Correct, no? This is the only case that can happen, because of which the ratio will what? Improve. When there is unfavorable, means when there is unfavorable, the ratio has fallen. Why it might have fallen? Because there is export prices have what? Export prices have fallen. Correct? Or what can happen? Means import prices have gone what? Have rise. Import price have rise, and import price, second case, import price have gone up, because of which the ratio will fall. Please understand, unfavorable. And the export prices will go up or fall? Will fall, because of which the ratio has come down. So this might be the cases. Correct? Now, if I want to elaborate, there was one economist, two in fact, combined. It is not given in the book, just for your analysis. It is called uh, Prebisch Singer hypothesis. You can Google this later. Prebisch Singer hypothesis. Okay. Now, what does this hypothesis say? They say that the terms of this, they have some hypothesis. They have some saying. Hypothesis means what we feel. Okay, that is hypothesis. So, this economist, what they felt, they felt that the terms of trade now tend to move against the primary producing countries. Who are the primary producing countries? You understand what I said? This is their wordings. Tend to move against the primary producing countries. Can anybody tell me what is primary producing countries? Agriculture. Now you understand, correct, which are developing, who are agrarian economy. Understood now? Why? Because see, what is their view, they say that other country which is into manufacturing sector or services sector, okay, their goods and services now, their demand has gone up as compared to what? The demand for agrarian goods. Is that clear? So their income now, their income increases. Their income increases. Okay, and our this thing means agrarian economy. Let us say R only, no? R means India, country like India or Bangladesh or Pakistan, all these countries who export this agricultural goods. So we, when compared to them, as I said, you are exporting the agricultural goods and you are importing the capital goods or manufactured goods. So what happens? It will be, this ratio will be against us, unfavorable always. Yes or no? So, and in agricultural market, now what happens? The prices, now it always fluctuates. It is more volatile, commodity prices for agricultural goods. But for manufactured goods, it's more stable. Think of a country which is exporting what? Exporting rice. We also have China. I think with Iraq, I think, I don't know, Iran, not Iraq, Iran, I think, that we will be giving rice. No, import means this time also we imported. No, we have exported rice. I think basmati rice. I don't know, means the first time there was a surge in COVID for our Indian rice. Okay, so I was talking something else. We had barter trade arrangement. I don't know exactly. I have read somewhere. Means exactly I don't know the figures and all, but I read somewhere that it was with Iran, I think. that we will give them rice and against that they will give us oil. Okay, something like that. Okay, so you think now we are giving rice and they are giving us oil. So who the ratio will be favorable? For them. Okay. So Prabish Singer has to say this. Now there are 6 theories, very easy theories. It's not like money supply chapter. Mercantilist. So I completed money supply first because these are all chapters very easy. All this very logical. First one is mercantilist approach. Okay. Then you have absolute theory of absolute advantage. Then you have comparative advantage. Okay. 6. Then you have comparative advantage with opportunity cost. Next, comparative advantage with opportunity cost. It's almost the same. No difference between this two. This two. It's almost same. Only David Richardson didn't speak here about the opportunity cost. So it was put forward by uh, his name is Heberler or something. Okay, this guy's name. And after this you have 3, 4. Na? Fifth is HO. Okay, Hexer-Holland theory, HO theory. Then the last one is new trade theory. Okay, this is very interesting, very much applicable. Now listen, let us understand this. If you remember, I sent you one picture message in the group on mercantilist at the beginning. Have anybody read it? Okay. So what it says, in 17th and 18th century, there was the policy of mercantilism was more, okay, and it was adopted by many nations. Now this theory, it says that a country now, it can grow rich and it can be big. How? By accumulating gold and metal, precious metals. And hence, every country now, whenever they used to export now, they used to get what? Gold and all precious metal in return. This is the theory of mercantilist. I hope it is clear what I am saying. Okay. If the export is favorable, means your exports are more. That means more gold you will get. Understood? And their thought process was that import is not good for the economy. Why? Because if you import, you will have to pay in metals, that is gold or silver or whatever it is. Okay. And there is one important point which this theory has to say, that is they feel that, see, one is win-win situation and one is win and lose. Okay, that it's only possible for me to win when you lose. That is another approach, okay, in life. So it should be always win-win. But these people feel that, whoever was at that time mercantilist, this approach, here the people used to feel at that time that there is no win-win situation. One country's loss is another country's gain, and one country's gain is another country's loss. In finance, we call it as zero-sum game, especially in the derivatives market, future, option and all. Zero-sum game. One person gains, another person loses. Okay. Is it clear? Now what we are going to start now is the important part. Okay. Listen carefully. What the absolute theory says. Theory of absolute advantage. Theory of absolute advantage. Listen carefully. Now, this was actually propounded or was said by Adam Smith. Okay. Now what he says that international trade now can only happen if two countries have absolute advantage. Now what you mean by absolute advantage? Okay. Absolute advantage means what? Let's say India is good at cloths, or Bangladesh, they are good at let's say wine. Okay. So India is good at cotton, cloth, whatever I said, cotton or cloth. So I will be producing cotton, India, and they will be exporting that to whom? To the Bangladesh, and Bangladesh will be exporting wine to us. So both the countries should have absolute advantage. Okay, so is it true? No. Why? I will tell you. Listen, see, understand. We'll learn this with the figures. This is country A and this is country B. Okay, there are two products, product X and product Y. Okay, please concentrate. To make in 1 hour, X can be produced in A 30 units per hour. Per hour. This is all per hour. A can produce product Y in, let's say, per hour 20 units. Okay. Country B can also produce X. It can also produce, but it can only produce 5 units. It can also produce, country B can also produce what? Can also produce product Y, 25 units. I'm using the same figures what is given in your book. Okay. So listen carefully. Now, what happens? If you check per hour, product X, who can produce more? Product X. See column wise, product X. A can produce more. So A has absolute advantage. Okay. Product Y, who can produce more in 1 hour? B. So this is called absolute, theory of absolute advantage. A is better, okay, in producing what? In producing X. B is better in producing what? Y. So both these countries will trade with one another. Okay, A will specialize in what? X. B will specialize in what? Y. You understood? So whatever is the gain, whatever they are gaining might not be equally distributed, but still they will have the trade. This is what has been said by Adam Smith. Okay. What is the advantage? That both this country, each country has an absolute advantage over the over one product. A has absolute advantage on X. Understood? B has absolute advantage on Y. In this theory of absolute advantage, it is not said that one country's loss is another country's gain. Who said that? Mercantilist approach. Correct? So, what this theory says, they says that there is division of labor, there is specialization. When A will try to produce X now, they will specialize in it. And obviously because of that, they will have benefits. They are saying globally, whatever is the resource available, it will be efficiently used. The output will be maximized. Understood? What is the disadvantage? They are saying that it's very simple. This is very simple. There are practically, if you go, the two countries can't trade. Why? Because there is trade barriers. There is limitations. What we considered per hour means labor is the only factor that is considered in this theory. Okay. It does not consider that there may be a situation, where A has absolute advantage over both the products. Sir, is it possible? Yes. You understand what I am saying? A can have absolute advantage over both the products. Sir, can still the trade is possible? Yes, that is called theory of comparative advantage. The next one. Okay, so we'll go to that. So disadvantage is what? Absolute advantage. All this whatever I'm saying now, same disadvantage, 4 disadvantages, same you have to copy for comparative advantage. Simple. Practical barriers are not considered. Labor is only considered as the factor input, right? And third one, what I said, that it does not, absolute does not consider what? Does not consider that in the same country can have absolute advantage in both the things, both the products. That is not considered. And this is what? This is supply side. They are talking about the supply condition. Yesterday I said in the last class, what is supply side economics? Please say. They are talking about suppliers. Yes. which aims at increasing the production. They are only talking about the production side. They are ignoring what, whether there is demand or not. This is the 4 disadvantages. Understood? There is one illustration which is given in your book. See the page number. Can anybody tell me? 121. See, 1 unit. It is written like this. See, 1 unit. This is country P and this is country Q. Product A, product B. It takes 8 hours to produce 1 unit. This take 9 hours. Okay, in hours they have given. This is the, it might come in the exam, 12 hours and here it takes 3 hours. Okay, please understand. What is the first question? Compute the production per hour for both the products in both countries. Per hour production, how many units are produced? How we will calculate? Simple. Yes. 1 by 8, 1 by 9, yes or no? Correct now? 1 by 12, 1 by 3. Are you understanding? To make 1 unit, it takes 8 hours. So here how much it will get? We will get 1 by 8. How much it is? It is given 0.125 units per hour. Per hour. In per hour, I can have how much? 0.125 units. Here 0.083 units per hour. Okay, this is same. Huh? This is product A, product B, country P, okay, country Q. Please understand. Here 1 by 9 means 0.11 units per hour. And here it will be 0.33 units per hour. So see, per hour, who is producing more? Product A. Where it is, who is producing more? Product A in 1 hour. Country P. Correct na? Yes. Who is producing product B more in 1 hour? Country B. Absolute advantage. Second question. Is the theory of absolute advantage applicable in the above case? Yes. Yes. Is your answer to the part is in affirmative? Okay, which country has the absolute advantage for product A? Which country has? P. Correct now? P. So, which country has absolute advantage for product A? Country P. And for which it has, for B, product B, it is country Q. Easy question. If trade takes place between these countries, which product should each country produce? Obviously, product A should be produced by whom? Country P. Correct. Country Q should produce what? Product B. Please understand what is the opportunity cost. Please understand. Listen. If A produces this, can I say this is the opportunity cost? Yes or no? If Q, if it produces this, if Q produces B, this is the opportunity cost. Opportunity cost is what? The next best alternative foregone. Correct? Yes or no? That's it. Easy. Now listen. The next theory says theory of comparative advantage. What this says? Why we are learning this? Because in SFM, one country, I'm just giving you the idea why they, that is what I feel, why they have introduced. They don't want you to be master in economics. But one company or one trader can borrow the loan at a fixed rate and he wants to change it to the floating rate. See if you can understand. Okay. But in his country, fixed rate as well as floating rate, both are favorable for him. Still, he will swap his loan. Understood? And there it is not in SFM anywhere specifically mentioned that this is concept comes from the economics. It is theory of comparative advantage. No. Means I am Indian. I swap my fixed rate loan, okay, for floating. Or other way wise, means I swap my floating rate with the fixed rate. Can it happen? Yes, it can. And it happens. But in my country now, as compared to, let's say, Mr. X is there. Okay. If I compare my fixed rate with X fixed rate, my country is giving me loan at a low fixed rate. I hope you remember what is floating rate. Correct? Floating means what? LIBOR plus or something like that, which has a benchmark. Sources of finance, we did this. Correct? Which changes every 6 months or every quarterly. That is called what? Floating rate. But my country, floating rate is also favorable for me. So will I swap my loan with him? Yes, still I will swap. That is what here with this says, theory of comparative advantage. David Ricardo is the person who propounded this. Understand? He says that company, they should specialize. Okay, they should specialize and export wherever they have a comparative advantage. They have a good comparative advantage. When I say comparative advantage, what does it mean? It means that this theory says that trade should be in such a way that it creates value for both the parties. Okay, even when one can produce all the goods, means both the goods, let's say, with the fever, means I can produce product A also, product B also. Understood? And I can produce, but at the cheaper cost or at the cheaper by using the less available resources as compared to other person. In both the products I have advantage, still I will trade. Why? Because the net benefit of the outcome is nothing but it's a gain. We both gets benefited because of that. Understood? So this practically this says what is the explanation, what they want to say, that you can't be master of all, that jack of all and master of none, we say na. It should not be like that. You should be master at one thing. There are some assumptions here also that labor is the only what factor of production. Understood? Now these factors of production, the second assumption, very important, this factor, because whatever the theory we are going to go next, obviously they will be intruding this, they will be changing these assumptions. Here they are saying factors can move, they are mobile, but within the country. Understood? Between the countries, factors can't move. And that is what is the assumption of HO theory, Exor-Holin model or Holin theory. Am I clear what I said? David Ricardo says, from India, labor can't go to Bangladesh or any other country. And Bangladesh person can't come to India. Labor are not mobile. They are perfectly what? Immobile. Between the countries. But within the country, you can move. Labor, you can send Maharashtra, Karnataka, wherever you want. Understood? They are saying that there is no, means Ricardo is saying that there is no government intervention. There is no transportation cost and all those things. Okay. Is this clear whatever I have said? Listen carefully. I'll give you the same example what I have given in your book. You have product X. Please understand. You have product Y. There are two countries. Country A, country B. Country A can produce X in how many hours? 40 hours. Product Y can also be produced in how many hours? 45 hours. Country B produces product X in 60 hours. And country B also produces product Y in 50 hours. Check for absolute advantage. Who produces X, okay, in less hours? This is for 1 unit. This is for 1 unit. Okay. Who produces? A. Who produces Y in less hours? A only. A only. Product Y. So it should look like this vertically. Okay. Understood? So if please understand, if I calculate unit, please give me the reciprocals. 1 divided by 40. 0.025 units. Yes or no? In 1 hour, product X by country A is how much? 0.025. Yes or no? Here it is 0.022. 1 by 45. 1 by 45. Correct na? 1 unit. It takes how much? 45 hours. So 1 by 45. Per hour, how many units are produced? Per hour, how many units are produced? 1 by 60, how much? 0.017, 0.17, right? 0.017. Here it will be 0.020. Now here also you can check. Check here. Check also you can check. In units also you can check. See, who is producing more in 1 hour? Product X. Who is producing more in 1 hour? A. Yes or no? Who is producing product Y more in 1 hour? A. Correct. So please understand. A has good efficiency in both the products. Understood, sir? Will they trade? Yes. Still they will trade. Okay. Why? I will tell you. Listen. Now listen carefully. What happens? Listen carefully. What happens? A will produce 0.025 per unit of hours, right? So please understand that is 1 by 40. So I can write it like this, and here 0.022, correct? So please understand 1 by 40 x is equals to 1 by 45 y. Both are for 1 hour, correct? Now what I will do, I will take that 40 that side. So this will become, please understand, this will become 1x is equals to 40 upon 45. How much? 0.89y. 40 by 45. Same way, please understand. 45 by 40, 45 by 40 means 1y is equals to how much x? 1.125x. So please understand, same way here also in B also, same way in the B also. If I try to calculate, same way in the B also, if I try to calculate, okay, here it was how much? 0.017, 0.020, okay, understood? So it was how much? 1 by 60x is equals to how much? 1 by 50y, right? So 1x is equals to how much? 1.20y, correct? And 1y is equals to how much? 50 by 60, 0.83y. Please understand, if not, if understand, if a country produces 1 unit of x, the opportunity cost is this. If it produces 1 unit of y, opportunity cost is this. Understood? Where the opportunity cost is less? Where the opportunity cost is less? X. So country A will produce X. I hope it is clear. Is this point clear to everyone? 1x, if I produce 1x, in that 1 hour, I can produce 1 unit of x. But in that 1 hour, I can produce only 0.89 of y. So where I am better off? In x. In 1 hour, if I produce 1 y. Understood? Is that clear? Are you understanding? 1x means this much. If I produce x now, this is means this is my what? Opportunity cost, means that much I will lose. 0.89 I will lose. Here. In B, if I produce 1x, this is my opportunity cost. For 1y, this is my opportunity cost. Correct? I will try to maximize the cost or minimize the cost. Minimize. Correct? I will try to minimize. So A we should produce, according to me, what? X. And B should produce what? Y. They try to find, please understand, they try to find here 60 by 40 and here 50 by 45. This is called comparative cost ratio. 60 is whose? B's. 1.5 upon 1, and this becomes 50 by is 1.1y by 1. Okay, so if you see B has more cost in both the things comparatively. B has more cost, 60 by 40. 60 is whose figure? Uh, B's figure. So cost in both the sense, if it produces, B produces what? X or Y, it is more. So B has more cost in both the cases. Sir, can they will trade? Yes. Why? Because it is said that both this country now they will come together, and because of that they will have a gain. They will have a gain. Please understand one important point. See, country A in 1 hour it can produce what? X or Y. If it produces X, it can produce 1 unit. Y 0.8. So this is more, right now. So there is gain of how much? 0.11. Same way country B in 1 hour, country B can produce what in 1 hour? How much X and how much Y? Please say. 0.83. 0.83 of X and Y 1. So there is a gain when they produce Y. How much? 0.17. So both have the gain. Is this clear? Understood? A will gain by producing X. B will gain by producing what? Y. Understood? So this is called, each country has competitive advantage over the other country in producing certain item. So such trade can take place. And it is not necessary here. Again I am saying, one country's gain need not be loss of another country. Okay. Second point, what is the advantage of this theory? It says that in spite of having the absolute advantage in both the products, still the countries trade. If one country has absolute disadvantage in both the, still it will trade. Again, same thing, it talks about what? Division of labor. When you specialize in one thing, specialization occurs. Consequently, what happens? You get benefits. Output increases, global demand increases, output is maximized. Supply increases. There is no shortage in the economies. Disadvantage is what? Simple model. It does not consider the practical trade barrier. Labor is the only factor considered. Okay. Understood? It emphasizes on what? Supply side condition. You should not write the third one, which we said in the absolute, that it does not consider the comparative advantage, because this is comparative advantage, no? Is this clear? In the whole theory, to make you explain, I spoke about opportunity cost. David Ricardo has not. You understood what I said? I said this word that 0.89, if 1x is equals to 0.8, means that is the opportunity cost. David Ricardo didn't speak. Okay, and this idea was exploited by Heberler. Okay, whatever his name, Hebler. What he says that there is opportunity cost. What he says, listen carefully what I am saying. He says that there is one country who can produce wheat or who can produce cloth. There is one more country who can produce wheat or who can produce cloth. Here he says that one cloth is equals to one wheat. Means a country, if it produces one unit of cloth, it has to forgo what? 1 unit of wheat. And if it produces 1 unit of wheat, it has to forgo 1 unit of cloth. But here in this country B, if B produces 1 unit, it has to forgo what? 2 unit of cloth. You tell me, this is called opportunity cost. You tell me, A will produce what and B will produce what? B will produce cloth. Why? B will produce cloth. A is indifferent, but B will produce what? B will produce cloth. Because with the same resource, it can only produce 1 unit of wheat. But B can produce what? More of the cloth. So they will be concentrating on cloth. They will minimize their what? Opportunity cost. They will produce the cloth, they will export it to A. A is indifferent. And A will do what? A will produce wheat and export it to whom? To the B. Is this clear, guys? Understood? This is called comparative advantage with opportunity cost. Okay, given by whom? Hebler, Haberler. Now, please understand, very important. Now, in one exam, I think they somewhere exam or MTB, I think they asked modern theory, and student didn't knew. Those who didn't know what is modern theory, they were not able to answer. It is Hexer. Please check the spelling. Hexer, Hollin model. I think Hexer, na, not Herser. HECK, sorry. Heck, SHER, sorry. Hexer Hollin. Okay, Hollin spelling is right. Theory. Now this theory is also called, correct. C is there. Okay, Hexer, C is there. Okay, Hexer Hollin model. Or this is also called modern theory. Okay, modern theory. It is also called factor endowment theory. Factor endowment theory. Understood? Or factor production analysis. These are all names of the same thing. Okay, same concept. So you should remember. Now, if you understand the theory, it is easy to remember the names. Why it is saying, see, I'll tell you. Very easy. There's not any. Till here, everything is okay. Have you understood everything? No problem, everyone. Good. So these are all very easy chapter. There is nothing. If you understand the things, it's very good. See, now here what he's saying, he says that why international trade happens? Because there is different prices for different goods in different countries. For the sorry, I said I can say different prices for different goods in the different countries, or for the same good, same prices. Okay, same goods, different prices also is possible. See, understand what I'm saying? Let's go slow. Goods price is different. Okay, countries are also different. Different goods and different prices. So what happens? Who has the efficiency now? Think and tell me the country which is efficient in producing one goods as compared to the another one, that country's price will be less or more. The country which is efficient in producing one good, is that country's price will be less. That is what he's saying. Okay. Now why that country is that efficient? Because its price is less. Understood? Why the price is less? Because the factor prices are less. Labor, capital, resources are more, we can say. Okay, he has not said that, so I don't want to elaborate, because it's called curse in economics. One type of curse. I don't want to get diverted. It is one type of curse when you are over allocated with one of the resources. Okay, it is not there in the syllabus. Why to get diverted? I don't want to get into that. What he has said, that we have to learn, because it's his theory, na? He will not modify it to according to us. So not resources, but he says that he is relating. See the thing. He says that why the prices are different? Because the cost is different, because the factor prices are different. Therefore, it is called what? Factor endowment theory. Now, what happens when the factor prices change? Means factor prices are different. Factor endowment happens. Means factor endowment means what? One country is blessed with something. India is blessed with what? Abundant labor. US is abundant with what? Capital. Correct? Yes or no? Now, when we speak about abundance, there can be two type of abundances. One is price wise, means labor can be cheaper. Understood? Means price wise. One is physically. Physically means capital may be more available in one country, labor may be less available. Are you understanding? So, when we say abundance in two ways. One way is what? Is the price. Capital is cheaper. Where capital is cheaper? In which country? Labor abundant or capital abundant? Capital abundant. Where there is more capital, it will be best in what? It will be, the capital will be cheaper. The country which has more labors, India, China, South Asia, everywhere, more labors. Correct now? What will happen? Labor will be cheaper. Yes. So listen, what he's saying is, listen what he's saying. They are saying that if any country has a good available resource, means if someone is labor abundant, then they will produce labor intensive goods. What they will produce? Labor intensive goods. A country which has more capital, they will produce capital abundant goods. Understood? Capital intensive goods. Is that clear? The country, let us think here now India, and let us think here US, because we have to answer ultimately. Yes. Why India will be why India will be producing labor intensive? Think. More of labor, correct, more of labor, so the factor price will be less, so it is cheaper. Correct now? Laborers are what? Cheaper. Correct. So you think what we will export? Labor intensive goods. We will export labor goods, and we will import what? We will export this, and we will import capital goods. Simple. Correct now? Now understand what he is saying. Now when we will produce more of the labor goods, the demand for labor will what? Go up or down? Demand will go up. Price will what? Go up or down? Go up. This country, here cheaper labor, here what? Cheaper capital. Cheaper capital. So they will export what? Capital goods. So import what? Labor goods. Correct. Slowly what will happen? Means when I am saying capital goods na, means it's labor only, but labor producing what? Please understand, labor producing the capital goods. Factor is what? Capital does not directly come up na. You understand? There is labor behind that. So we are talking about the labor. So labor who are producing the capital goods, labor who are producing the capital goods, their demand will? No, it will increase. Labor who produces the capital goods, their demand will increase. Correct na? Labor who produces, because capital goods is more demand. So more factories, capital goods producing, manufacturing. So more laborers we need. The demand pushes up. So what happened? Labor's price will what? Labor who produces capital goods, price will what? Go up. Ultimately what he says, you know, that instead of exchanging the goods, you will exchange what? Labor. Which was not possible under which theory? Comparative. Comparative said what? Comparative said what? Factor inside the domestic, you can move, mobilize, but outside you can't mobilize. This when the prices become equal between the two factors, it is called factor price equalization theorem. Factor price equalized theorem. That's it. Is this clear? One more time. Very important. One more time. No problem. Listen. Hexer-Holin theory, or it is called modern theory, or it is called factor endowment theory, or it is called factor proportion analysis. What this says, that different kind of goods have different prices in different countries. Okay. He says that some countries have abundant of labor. Some countries have abundant of capital. So those who are abundant in labor, they will produce what? Labor intensive goods. Those who are abundant in capital, they will produce what? Capital intensive goods. What happens? Because India, where the labor is abundant, India like country, because of the cheaper labor, you will be what? Producing labor goods, LG. And you will try to export. And you will import what? Capital goods. When you try to export, demand for those labor goods will increase. Means laborers, factors price will increase. And because the demand goes up, the prices of that factor will what? Go up. Exactly that will happen with the capital abundant country. They will produce more capital goods to export. What will happen? The labor who produces the capital goods, for him the demand will go up. Ultimately, he will increase his price. And they are saying that at the end, that instead of exchanging the goods, you will exchange what? Factors, because almost the factor price are same. What is the principle under this? They are saying that, what he is saying that, under the HO theorem, he says that a country which specializes, a country will specialize and export those products, okay, in which it is abundant, and import those in which it is scarce. Is there any rocket science? Simple. It's simple. He says that a country will specialize in that thing in which they are abundant. They have the abundant resource. The resource which is scarce, they will what? Import, so that it is not costlier for them. When we derive something from some theory or theorem, it is called corollary, which is understandable. No proof is needed. That is called corollary. I hope you might be knowing this. It's called corollary. The corollary is what? Due to demand of the factor input, where in particular type of goods, like either it may be labor or either it may be capital intensive goods. In both these factors, ultimately what happens? Their demand will increase. So what will happen? Because of that demand, the factors will increase their price. So whether you trade in goods or whether you trade in those factors, it's exactly the substitute for each other. Whether you trade for the goods or whether you trade for the factors, it's exact substitute for each other. Understood? Means what they are saying, that product is also mobile. At the same time, the factor is also mobile, and they are substitute of each other. Have you understood? Let us distinguish comparative cost theory or comparative advantage theory. Okay. What it said, it spoke about labor, but this factor endowment theory, it speaks about both the things, labor as well as capital. Correct? Two things are taken into consideration. Right now? Are you understanding? Here, see what is happening, please understand. In comparative cost, when they say that they say that international trade is different, domestic trade is different. Understood? But here in this theory, it is said what? International trade is nothing, but it's just an extension of what? Of regional trade. Why? Because ultimately the factor, it moves. When the factor can move easily, where you can move? You can move within the country. You can't move easily to another country. But this assumes, that means they are saying that in this Hexarollin model theorem, what it is saying, that exactly the factors means international trade is nothing but extension of what? Inter-regional trade or domestic trade. Okay. Only labor was considered in comparative advantage, but here labor as well as capital is considered. Understood? Comparative advantage, I think it said that it says that why comparative advantage you have? Because you are specialized in that thing, and you will try to specialize in one thing. You will try to get that competitive advantage. I hope everybody knows what is competitive advantage. What is competitive advantage? What is the best in you? The best in you is the competitive advantage over others. The best in you. So here in competitive theory, comparative advantage theory, they focused on that. You will try to have the competitive that advantage. Understood? It spoke about only the cost, comparative cost. But here they are speaking about why the cost increased or decreased. It is because of the factors it's speaking about. Very important point. Comparative is normative. What is normative economics? And this is positive. Hexarollin. What is normative economics? I'll explain this first. What is positive? Positive economics means supply of petrol decreased. If supply of petrol decreased, price of petrol will what? Go up. If Maldives, there is increase in the tourism, employment will increase. Statements, positive statements. What will happen? It's speaking about. based on what? Empirical evidence. Here it's based on empirical evidence. What will happen? Hence it is called positive economics. They don't speak about values. If I add like this now, please understand, if I add like this, supply of petrol decreases, price of the petrol increase, and I say because of that it's good. Why? Because the environment will get benefited. Norms, normative, ethics, values, where values are considered, like you said, someone said, like values are considered, is what? Norms, ethics, normative economics. Understood? Second example, what I gave? Maldives. Correct. Increase in the tourism, more will be the employment. Till here, positive economics. But if I say what the government should give, opinion, what the government should do, it should increase the tourism. That is normative economics. Understood? So this comparative advantage speaks about what? Speaks normative. Okay, they try to prove what? There is gain arising of what? International trade. Here, they are giving you positive explanation. They are saying that ultimately what will happen practically, empirically, they are saying that if this happens, then the demand will go up. If the demand goes up, factors will rise their price. Okay. New trade theory, one of the easiest. New trade theory. Now, why it is called new trade theory? Because it is later in 75 80s it was developed, 1975 80s. Okay, and they have very different models. So what it says, please understand, they say that every country now they have planning. They have planning for what? Like we discussed, monetary policy, they have economic policy, they have industrial plannings. India also has. They, it says that there is defined path, and they try to what? They try to specialize in one thing. They try to concentrate on one industry. Like uh, Switzerland is famous for what? Watches. Switzerland is famous for watches. Correct. France is famous for what? Aircrafts. Right. Russia, space, as well as aircrafts and all, missiles and this that things. Correct. So every country now they will try to specialize in one or other thing, and because of which they will have advantage. Okay, now they are explaining that in this, they are explaining that there are two reasons why the countries will engage in international trade. All the points are same. One is economies of scale. Okay, that is, economies of scale means production will increase, production side, that is supply side. Another one is they are saying network effect. We'll understand one by one. Bandwagon effect, network effect, what it is. This is demand side, this is supply side, this is demand side. Okay, now what it says, very easy. uh, in a country, that country prefers to produce certain goods. Why? Because of the government policies, or because of the factor inputs available, or any other reason. Means they want to specialize in one thing. Now what happens when you get specialized in one thing? What happens when you are specialized in one thing? What happens? You start producing. Because of the production, what happens? Economies of scale. And when you produce huge, you go in search of market, and when you get new market, what you do? You export. Correct. And you will use all your resources, okay, to produce that thing. And what you do, which in wherever your cost of in other goods where you are not good at, you will import. That is called economies of scale, supply side. New trade theory says that there is network externality. Means uh, we also have this. Sometimes we see someone wearing something branded, right? Or someone we mind na sometime to show off. Here exactly not to show off, but it is the effect that one user of the goods na has a value of that product on the other. Means it's exactly what is written. I'll read. Can anybody tell me what is the page number? 128. See, it's given that network effect, also called as network externality, is the effect that one user of the goods or service has on the value of that product to the other. Correct? Means network when it is present, when the value of that product or service is dependent on the number of others using it. Means people think that if the users are high, everyone is using, now why we are not using? Understood? Mobile phones, Facebook, is it necessary? No. Insta, is it necessary? No. Still we use. Why? Everybody is using. अरे तू इंस्टा पे नहीं है, नहीं है, उसमें क्या है? Understood? But people use. Why? Because people think that higher the users, higher is the value. So ultimately what happens? People start following. People start following. Some people, over time what happens? Positive network effects has. Right now, small advertisement of my page. There is one page called FinHub. Today also I posted yesterday what we discussed in money supply. Okay, so I don't get that much of time, but in between I keep on posting some or other thing. Okay, today also there was some change, so I've posted it. Check that out. Okay, so one thing what we discussed is country will try to specialize in one thing. Why? Because the government policies are favorable or the resources are available. So because of that, when it produces more, it start exporting that goods, and it will use all its resources in that. And wherever the cost of production is high for the other goods, it will import. That is economy of scale side. Another one is network effect. They are saying that because other peoples are using, why we are not using? So everyone starts using. More the number of users, high is the value. What is the people think? Over a time, there is a positive network that can create a bandwagon. Means everyone becomes a follower, more and more. Right now,